Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Rosemary Levesque. We are doing our Avini Wellness Call today in what month is this? August. Woohoo! And
Already.
I know, I just sent out a newsletter the other day and talking about the immune system. We have, for the past couple of weeks, been focusing on pet health. And I hope you understand that even though I'm talking about pet health, I'm also talking about human health because we are living on the same planet, number one. We have blood and skin and organs and a lot of things that are going on the same. And we also are exposed to the same toxic compounds here on this planet, except for our animals, because they're smaller, because they have a shorter lifespan, because they're walking barefoot, and because the standard of care for all animals is a little sideways on let's over vaccinate, let's feed them this, kibble, let's poison them with this flea treatment. That's the standard of care, unfortunately, for our animals. And because of that, there is a lot of unnecessary suffering that we can help alleviate. So today's topic, well, actually, the first topic from a couple of weeks ago was that toxicity problem that we were talking about. Last week, we were talking about pain. I did not record that call. You guys wanted to just have a chat about it. That's fine. I love that. And if I need to record something about pain and pain relief, especially for pets, I will be happy to go back and do that and add it to our channel. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the immune system, and here's how I see this going. I want to hear from you. I want to have some either questions or testimonies, and then I will talk in general about the immune system, about Avini products, and where we're going with this, what we can do to help support a healthy body, and finish with more questions and testimonies if you want to do that. And then I'll end the recording. It's just going to be short and sweet. Are you okay with all that? Yeah? Good. Yes. All right.
Yes.
So we don't make medical claims, of course. We're not here to make medical claims. We just support how the body needs to work in order to function by removing the heavy metals and supporting the natural systems in the body to help us heal. So everybody here I see on this call is already in Avini. If you are watching this call and you are curious about Avini, please contact me or someone on this call about Avini and how they're using Avini and how we can help you, because we're all one big family here and we like to be able to reach out and share some information that most people don't know about. Hey Bev, how many people were in the company when Avini started just 3 years ago?
250.
250 people 3 years ago. How many we have now? Do you know that number?
I don't exactly, but I know in the numbers that are going through now, 30,000, I've seen those numbers of
Wow.
people.
Wait. 30,000? I thought it was 13.
Well, that may be distributors, but then we have a lot of customers.
Okay, so total numbers, 30,000 in
Well,
just
I've
3 years.
seen those numbers, so yes, that's
Mm. So the reason why we started with 250 is because most of us who came in on day one were associated with Rick Deitch, our biochemist, from the very beginning, from 2005. And we've been following him all these years because he's got really something really quite good. So if you're not in Avini, you'll want to know more about this. Who would like to ask a question or give a testimony about Avini or the products or the business? Whatever you want to talk about. Who has a question or an observation?
I have an observation.
Yes, Star.
Okay, I'm 79. I've had open heart surgery. I was misdiagnosed as a diabetic. And at 79, I'm much more fit than I was at 40.
Woo-hoo.
I can run 5 miles. I taught a yoga class this morning. I did work with a private client. I feel fabulous. And it's a beanie. I
It is.
take everything we've got and have, if a new product comes out, I start taking it.
Mhm.
And I just am very grateful for the fact I have really robust health. I worked with a client this afternoon who's only 2 years older than I am, and she's using a walker. There's no strength. She's extremely mainstream, and she also is on many, many medications. And I'm not making any medical claims by saying this, but what I am saying is if you return your body to the healthy status that it is, it will do what it needs to do without intervention pharmaceutically.
Mm-hmm. You have an incredible testimony, Star. We can't see your face. Your phone is pointed up to something else. There
Right?
you are. We want to see your vibrant, radiant
No,
self at 79 years old. Yeah.
78. Get
Oh, I'm sorry, I added a year. But you also used Avini products for your cat. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's pretty remarkable, especially regarding what he went through the last 18 months of his life and his immune system.
Oh my goodness. Um, he has had 3 hip replacements, a brain aneurysm.
No, your cat, not Larry.
Not
Your
Larry?
cat, cat, Ra.
Oh my, the other beloved in my life. Um, he was a 35-pound Maine Coon cat. I wish I had known about Avini earlier because he had a rough beginning, but he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I had him 18 more months because he absolutely loves immunity sprinkled on his food. And he had Cell Defender 3 or 4 times a day. They said that he wouldn't live that long at all. He did. And the only reason that we let him go was he was letting us know it was time. He was uncomfortable. And we wanted to do that before he was in a lot of pain, and he let us know.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
those 18 months were precious.
I love that you gave him Zmunity. Zmunity is our mushroom product where all these mushrooms are grown together. And you said you opened it and sprinkled it,
I
or
opened it and sprinkled it on his wet food because he absolutely loved it.
yeah, yeah. Most dogs and cats love our mushroom product. And medicinal mushrooms have a pretty long history. There's a lot of science in medicinal mushrooms. And so when you take all the years of science and research with medicinal mushrooms and you combine it with the ideas that Rick has, oh, let's grow them together. So they compete with each other. They produce more of those good chemicals that mushrooms produce. And let's add our cell defender to it, our detoxolite to it, to make it even exponentially more beneficial. So Ra had the benefit of that. So the Zmunity mushrooms along with Cell Defender were critical for him. Yes?
Yes. If it hadn't been for that, I wouldn't have had him that long. And he wouldn't have been out of pain for as long as he was. He couldn't do some of the things he used to do, like big jumping, but
Mm.
he could jump up on the bed and cuddle and do things like that. When it got to the point where that wasn't comfortable, that's when he let us know it was time to go.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. We have, thank you, Star. That was
Mm.
beautiful. We have on our call today Cindy, and Cindy has dog stories. And I'm sure you can share a little bit with us. Cindy, would you be able to share a little bit about what's going on with Sophie? Unmute.
Okay, how's that?
Yep.
Great. Sophie was 14 in February, and she's a little shelty. I don't know how to flip this around so I can get her in here, otherwise I would. But
Give her a
back,
treat. She'll come right to you.
yeah, oh yeah, she's already had 2 of those, so now she's scouting grandma's area for droppings. Um, which I'm going to go scoot her away from. So back in 2020, Sophie and I reached out to Rosemary, and she introduced us or reintroduced me to zeolite. I had been introduced to it years ago, with a company that began with a W, and nobody taught me how to use it. Nobody taught me anything about it. They just said, this is awesome, take these drops. So I took a few drops for about a week and didn't see any difference. So it sat on a shelf for all those years, and I actually ended up finding it in 2020 when I was searching around. So long story short, reached out to Rosemary. Sophie was having a reaction post dental cleaning. In her ears, she had these little blister welts. She had them around her neck area. And poor thing, this had been going on since prior to the holidays. And I reached out to Rosemary in February or early March and started Sophie on the Cell Defender drops. We did that, and gosh, I don't know, within a short amount of time, this, whatever it was, started clearing up. She had previously been on antibiotics, some steroids, and I don't even remember what all. So in addition to that, I was taking Cell Defender and had some wonderful experiences with that with my own health. But fast forward with Sophie, she is also on Zmunity. She gets 2, 4, 6 tablets a day sprinkled on some green beans. Back in the fall, late fall, early December-ish, I found a mass underneath her, just below her sternum. They did an ultrasound. In the ultrasound, he said it was about the size of a walnut, and it was a sarcoma, the whole thing. So I ramped up the amount of, I think she was only taking 4 Zmunity, and we went to 6. I increased the Cell Defender and her Nano Silver. She's giving me nose buns because she wants her bedtime treat. And long story short, she went in for the surgery. When he did the surgery, he said he came out of it. She said she did great. It was a little bit larger than we anticipated. However, he said the good news is we got it all. And that walnut size thing that in the ultrasound sonogram that they did was that size, but it was fatty tissue, and it did not show up with the
Uh-oh.
Oops.
We lost you, Cindy. Uh-oh.
oh,
There,
I
it
don't
did not show up with what? It was fatty tissue and
only a pea size of the sarcoma. And no additional treatment was needed. And we've continued with I've continued with the immunity, the nano silver, and the cell defender for her, plus relief because she had some x-rays and has a pretty significant arthritis in her paws and in her spine. And just from this interaction, I'm sure you've seen with my video, my up and moving around and different views that you're seeing are, getting her situated, following her because she's bumping me and alerting me, I want this, it's time for this. She's very schedule oriented.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing so much with her. Oh, Sophie and I were living in an apartment that was filled with black mold. I did not realize what extent Sophie and I were not feeling well and not doing well. By the grace of God, in June, the air conditioning went out when in Illinois, it started with 80, 90-degree weather with 100 plus heat indexes and extremely high humidity. So without having air conditioning, the humidity was high in the apartment, the mold level was increasing, and Sophie and I came to stay with my mom. And within, gosh, a short amount of time, with increasing some of the nano silver and the cell defender with her, I noticed a difference in Sophie. I cannot tell you the difference in myself, and I'm only using cell defender like 1 time a day. Sometimes I remember twice a day, but I just can't say enough good things about how God brought me to this product, to the Cell Defender again, how Rosemary has been instrumental in helping us to be at the point where we are. And I am just so happy. I've got chills. I just can't express enough how happy I am to still have my little baby girl and to be in the health condition that I am and to be able to help my 93-year-old mother. So long story, but I hope that
You
that
know,
inspires someone and I hope it helps someone.
it's so beautiful. Cindy, thank you so much. May I touch upon a few things that you talked about?
Sure.
So in the very beginning, you talked about the dental work that Sophie had. Now,
Yes.
if, and Alita has talked about this before, she was a vet tech, she was helping with dentals. So when they're laying on their side and they've got this tube down the throat and all the fluids and stuff, the fluids are what's getting everywhere. And so it sounds like Sophie had an allergic reaction, that rash breaking out everywhere the fluid touched her. So, coming back to the topic of, what's going on with the immune system? Well, that's a signal, that's a sign that there's something going on with the immune system, because I would imagine that it doesn't happen for every dog, but maybe for sensitive dogs. Just like for us, we don't have a reaction to every lotion or every food or anything, but for some things we do. So when the body is having some kind of a reaction, it's an immune response. That's what is happening. It's an immune response. And so Sophie was having an immune response. She was getting triggered by something that was alerting her body that this was hurting her. So now we have lowered her immune response some degree by giving her Cell Defender. At least we hope we have. Because the theory behind this is if you take out heavy metals, if you take out poison from the body, then the sensitivities can go down a little bit. You don't have to be so sensitive anymore. But Sophie's a sensitive girl. She's sensitive to a lot of things, including emotionally and energetically. She's a sensitive girl. Shelties are. We have seen such remarkable turnarounds with Sophie. And to get out of your situation where you've had mold toxicity going on, that was a good choice for you, Cindy. I applaud you
No,
for that. Um,
thank you.
yeah, mold toxicity is a very big deal. A lot of people are dealing with mold toxicity and they don't know what's wrong with them. Yeah.
People don't realize the extent of how it infiltrates everything. And one example of that is as I was cleaning some things today and thinking, oh, I'll keep this, I'll keep that. I have kept and stored my candles in the crisper of the refrigerator, thinking that's a safe option. Today I pulled the crisper out. I was pulling some candles out. I pulled out a box of candles that was underneath a few and lifted it up, and there was gray and white mold all over the box and stuck to the bottom of the crisper. I pulled the whole crisper with all those boxes of candles, took them out in the garage and threw them in the garbage. And I thought, wow, this has infiltrated the refrigerator and all our food that hasn't been even opened, but still is in plastic. And yeah, so let me dismiss that call. Sorry. Yeah,
My,
so I hope and pray that people just really understand how Cell Defender can help them
mhm.
and how, like you were saying, Rosemary, how toxic the mold can be.
Well, in addition to that, when you were still in your mold-ridden apartment, Sophie's health was declining. You could see her health declining. What you called me up, what's wrong with Sophie? And of course, remember a smaller organism, somebody smaller than you is going to be more sensitive to it. And uh, we talked about silver. Well, give her more silver. The silver was helping to kill the mold in the body. Cell Defenders pulling out the toxins produced by the mold. So you were doing as much as possible. But I think Rick usually says, you can run, but you cannot hide. You had to get out of there. There was no choice. You had to get out of the situation where there was mold. Yeah,
Yeah.
good for you. Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing. That's a big story. Yeah. You mentioned your 93-year-old mother. Bev, can we talk about aging people and how we can help aging people with their immune system?
Sure.
I don't mean you, I'm talking about your mother.
I know, I know. I sure can talk about that because she was not 25 days short of 101. I looked after her every day. And I knew that I knew what to do. And she had the mushrooms as immunity every day. And we were taking the Cell Defender and the silver. And I would give her the Cell Defender. Actually, I wanted to make sure her blood was running smooth so she didn't do any strokes or anything from AFib. And and I wish I'd had our heart product then, but cardio product. But anyway, it was amazing, her health, and people couldn't believe her health and how she was and how her mind was so sharp. And that the doctor, when in that final day, when she did have a stroke, it wasn't due to what we thought because they were changing her heart meds because they had the pharmaceutical company, all of a sudden didn't have her kind, and that was what was causing a problem. But it was 100% blockage in the right carotid artery, and he could not believe that I actually had her up for breakfast, and she told me what she wanted and everything else, and he just was totally shocked that my mother was 100% blocked, and yet she had been functioning normally.
And how old was she when she passed?
25 days short of 101.
101. And if she had our cardio formula, who
Mm,
knows? Who knows? Because our
yes.
cardio formula supports the heart, the arteries, and the blood.
Mm,
And we hear Rick talk about our cardio formula, how I think the word roto-rooter comes to mind, right? Something that cleans out the arteries. Wouldn't that have been a nice touch?
it will. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we have now what we wish we had years ago. And years ago, we only had Cell Defender and mushrooms. And these are our go-to products when we're talking about the immune system. I printed out this article. This is available in your back office, or if anybody doesn't have a back office yet, ask me for the article. I will send it to you. And it talks about our Zmunity mushrooms. It has our Cell Defender in it, our detoxolite. It talks about how the immune system works, how all the mushrooms work. There's a lot of science to this. And you know me, you know I love science. And I don't have to teach about this. Rick teaches us. So if you don't know anything about mushrooms, find the article. There are several written by Rick, and they're all in the back office. Are there any other questions that you would want to talk about before I go on to one more thing and then we'll end our call? Any other testimonies or questions?
Yeah, I'd like to say something, Rosemary.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is Allison Van Raden, and I'm an intuitive coach, energy healer, and I've just started the products with Rosemary a couple weeks ago. I actually was introduced to her last year when I was looking for somebody to help my aunt with long-term COVID. But, sometimes people have to make choices and they don't always make, you know, choices, right? Especially with COVID brain, right? um,
Yes.
I started taking the Cell Defender and it's really helped my brain feel it's interesting because, I do a lot of energy healing work and yet sometimes my brain feels a little heavy and it just made it much lighter. I feel just much lighter energetically. And I feel like it definitely creates for me personally, like more peace, any like less anxiety that I'm sort of picking up from society is it's somehow being released a little bit more because I'm an empath. And so I pick up other people's energy real fast. And somehow it's just decreasing that sort of extreme sensitivity, it doesn't always serve you to be that sensitive. So,
Exactly. You bring up a very good point, Allison, and thank you for sharing. Some of our dogs also are extremely sensitive, extremely alert. And oh, I talked to somebody the other day who called me and said, yeah, my dog's on Prozac. What? Why is your dog on Prozac? Oh, because anxiety and all that. Well, wouldn't it be a good idea to reduce that sensitivity like you just expressed to us? You're sensitive, but you feel like that's lighter now, like that burden is lifted a little bit. Couldn't we do that for the ones that don't necessarily have a voice for our animals? Yes, we can. And how many drops are you taking of Cell Defender?
I do about 4 or 5 times a day, at least 6 to 10 drops, I would say.
Okay,
Because I just
getting a,
I want to really like immerse myself in the experience of what the energy of the product is. And
yeah,
I feel like I'm getting a really true reflection of that. I mean, the thing is, like, I've spent all my life being super sensitive, and I know how to clear my own energy, but that's a daily practice. And this Cell Defender kind of helps alongside this clearing. So to me, it's so lovely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
it's just such a lovely symbiotic sort of, connection. Yeah.
That's
What about the
beautifully
product?
said. Yeah. And that's what I have found to be true as well, sharing it with my students and with my clients. If you can do this one thing, and that's how I put it to people, can you do this one thing? Can you lighten your body burden? Take out some of the heavy metals a little bit today, a little bit to turn back the clock on a few yesterdays as well, because our body has stored the heavy metals in the bones, the brain, the fatty tissue, and so forth. That's all stored. Can we get rid of some of that and feel lighter? Can we feel healthier? Yeah, exactly. It's a great
I
place
do
to
have a
start.
question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, people who suffer with PTSD,
Mhm.
what is the protocol for that?
So we don't offer a protocol, especially on recorded calls, but we might not 10 drops 2 times a day. That's considered a maintenance dose. For somebody who has some sort of thing going on, we'll just call it a crisis, whatever their crisis is. Is it physical, emotional, whatever? Then maybe fewer drops, but more often. Because the idea is you want it circulating through your body all the time. But it's only going to be in your body for a short time and then it's gone. Passes through all the organs, through the kidneys, dumps into your bladder, then it's gone. So let's keep taking drops, small amount, often. And usually what we see is a benefit as their body burden is lifted. In addition, I would say consider our Zmunity mushrooms. And Bev, I'm wondering if you can talk about that emotional stress, whether it's PTSD or anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. Make sure you unmute yourself. What have we seen with people in that situation using our Zmunity mushrooms? Do you have anything to share there?
Well, yes, we have a lovely testimony just recently of a woman who had anxiety, but she also had suicidal thought for years and years. And she was on a number of the products, and then she said, which one has stopped this thinking? I want to know. And so she started them one at a time and realized it was this immunity. Of course, the Cell Defender was also taking the heavy metals and toxins out of her body, but it was his immunity what was really clicking in and calming her down and taking those thoughts away. So she was just ecstatic about that. I mean, why wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel like you have your life back. If you don't feel anymore like you want to end it, then all of a sudden you're given this gift of life again, is
Hmm.
how I look at it. Yeah.
And the big thing I believe is the Cell Defender helps remove a lot of the heavy metals and toxins. And we have so much 5G running around in the air now that that draws to us. And so if we're rid of those metals, it's not going to be so attracted to us.
What I'm hearing you say is something that I've also talked about, Bev, that if you have, and we all have, heavy metals in our body, that you become an antenna for those frequencies that are out there. You become attracting like an antenna all of the native energy, the 5G, the EMFs, all that stuff. You become an antenna for it. Not only that, but a toxic body is also a wonderful environment. Parasites and unhealthy cells that are growing out of control. They love a body that's toxic, a body that is low in oxygen, a body that has a low immune system. That kind of stuff thrives. So the bottom line, of course, is what do you want to feed? Which wolf in shamanic practice, in shamanic stories, which wolf do you want to feed? There's a black wolf and a white wolf fighting. Which one is going to win? Well, the one you feed will win. Are you going to feed the good wolf? Black, white, doesn't matter. Are you going to feed the good wolf, the Zmunity and Cell Defender and support the immune system? Or are you going to feed the bad wolf something not wonderful? You know, that might be processed foods. It might be not being aware of your own toxicity, you know, things like that. So what are you feeding? Are you supporting something? Which you're supporting something, one or the other, no matter what you're doing, you're supporting something. Which one do you want to support? Which one do you want to feed? So let's end this. Actually, Cindy, I want to go back to you for a moment because you said something, everything you said was really important, but especially what you said about what the doctor found when he took out that walnut-sized mass. He said, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was mostly fatty tissue, and what was left was kind of a pea size
Yeah,
that was considered the sarcoma part.
correct.
Yeah, wow. Wow. So if we had not done Cell Defender and Zmunity, we can't say for certain what he would have pulled out on the
Exactly.
surgery, but we can speculate that there was some sort of change happening because the body doesn't grow fatty tissue with a tiny sarcoma in the middle. I think, and you know, I'm just speculating here because I'm not a doctor, I didn't go in there, but I'm speculating that what he witnessed was a reversal of growth because a thriving bad tissue, a thriving, let's just say cancer or a sarcoma, she had a sarcoma, a thriving sarcoma might not have been surrounded by fatty tissue with a tiny sarcoma in the middle, right? A thriving sarcoma would probably be all sarcoma. I mean, Bev is a nurse. Bev, if a sarcoma is thriving, would it all be sarcoma if the doctor were to go in and get it?
I would believe so.
I would believe so too. So I
Mm.
think what the doctor witnessed, what he took out, was a reversal of something that was growing. He witnessed something that was reversing and beginning to heal. That's my thought on that. You can take it take it any way you want, but it's some of the witnessing that we have had before with all kinds of testimonies and surgeries. When doctors go in to pull something out, it might not be there. It might not be what they expect. And I've heard this over and over and over again. So I have a feeling that this is what we can expect.
Yes, when I had my
Alita?
diagnosis, sorry, Rosemary, it was
Yep.
smaller than they expected. So, yes.
It was smaller, yeah. And this happened with a dog I helped many years ago, living in, I believe, North or South Carolina, one of those. A little dachshund had an inoperable mass in the throat. Um, definitely inoperable. Too many, fibers and veins and arteries and all that stuff that's in there couldn't get in there. And so she started on Cell Defender and our mushrooms. And finally, the doctor said, okay, now I can operate. And he was able to get it out. And it was kind of mush. It wasn't actually active living tissue anymore. So we have seen this over and over again. We might be able to be a witness to one stage or another, but we can only surmise that what we're doing isn't hurting and it's probably helping. Yeah, that's not a medical claim. Hi, Alita. I'm going to just stop the recording unless you have testimony you'd like to share about animals or people. We're talking about the immune system and what's going on. Did you want to add something, Alita?
Well, no, I know the immune system. I'm sorry I came in late.
It's okay.
But I didn't want to miss this one. I have a testimony about, this was last year, I think it was, near the end of the year when I lost a lot of my animals due to age and ailments. My last senior guinea pig. Now, a senior guinea pig is considered 6 years old. And I remember going on vacation, had told my caretakers to say, feed him soft food because he can't eat, the pellets anymore. And so I was gone for a week, came back, and they said, he's not eating. I said, okay, not to worry. So I had given him his soft food. It's baby food, basically, is what it is, vegetables. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go ahead and start giving him Cell Defender. Now, I knew he was at the end of life, but man, let me tell you something. When I didn't even count how many drops. I just squirted it in his food, and man, he became ravenous. It was like natural steroids, because you know what steroids do? They boost the metabolism, and they just want to eat, eat, eat. And he just ate and ate. I mean, he did pass away. I think he was alive for another 2 to 3 weeks. But if you could just help an animal cross over and have a full tummy, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody, humans, animals, it's one thing to go, but if you're starving and weak, that's no fun. But I remember when I was giving him Cell Defender, and always my guinea pigs would be happy to see me and stand up on the cage and beg. And that's what he did with Cell Defender. I just started loading up his food 3 or 4 times a day. And then one day, I knew it was the end, and I was happy, but he had curled up in one of his spots and he wasn't eating, and I knew that he was going to go, and he did.
Mhm.
But that's a testimony,
It is, and
because
it's a testimony to your compassion and your wisdom as well.
right.
To offer Cell Defender, not, we weren't looking to extend his life another year or two. That wasn't what
Mhm.
you wanted. You wanted to
Nope.
make his last days here comfortable and good.
Yeah.
Yeah?
And he
And
was he was setting up on the cage. I mean, come on, that was like, wow. you
uh-huh,
know
uh-huh,
I knew it was the Cell Defender that gave him that boost of energy, and I just thought, oh my god, this is acting like a natural, like a steroid, but it's not a steroid. So
uh-huh. No, it's not.
and it was sad, but I know he was a senior, and I was just like, I was happy that he was able to go on a full tummy.
Yep.
you know
Yep. It speaks to your compassion and wisdom. That's
right.
wonderful. Hey, I was on a call last night with Carol, and she said, can you tell me what's going on with Finley? He has so much energy now. I don't know what to do with him. Cell Defender's immunity, and he's running
Mhm.
around like a madman. He's what, 14 now? Little
Oh
dog,
wow.
14. So with that, I'm going to end the recording and say thank you very much for showing up. Stick around for a few more minutes so we can
Mhm.
talk about a few other things. Thank you so much. Hang on.
Mhm.